the early 20th century, in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, there was a neighborhood called Greenwood. But this wasn't just any neighborhood. It was one of the most prosperous black communities in America, so successful it was known as Black Wall Street. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, business owners, black families who, in the middle of the Jim Crow South, had built something incredible. They had banks, luxury shops, libraries, restaurants, hotels, newspapers, and even their own schools and hospital. Some families even owned private planes. It was a shining example of black excellence, independence, and wealth during a time of deep racism and segregation. But not everyone saw it that way. In May 1921, everything changed. A 19-year-old black shoeshiner named Dick Rowland stepped into an elevator operated by a white teenage girl named Sarah Page. What happened in that elevator is unclear. Most historians agree nothing criminal occurred. But Rowland was arrested and accused of assault. Rumors spread fast. White newspapers stoked fear, claiming an attack had taken place. Within hours, a white mob gathered outside the courthouse demanding Rowland be lynched. Black war veterans, many of whom had fought in World War I, came to the courthouse to protect him. Tensions exploded. By the evening of May 31st, gunfire broke out. What followed was one of the most devastating acts of racial violence in American history. Thousands of white rioters descended on Greenwood. They looted homes, set businesses on fire, and killed indiscriminately. Eyewitnesses reported planes dropping incendiary bombs from the sky, private planes flown by white civilians. By the next morning, over 35 square blocks of Greenwood were gone. Nearly 300 black residents were killed. Over 10,000 were left homeless. Families who had spent decades building a life had it erased in a single night. And here's the most chilling part. No one was ever held accountable. Not a single person was charged. Insurance companies refused to pay claims because the destruction was deemed a riot. Survivors were forced into internment camps. Many left Tulsa and never returned. Some were silenced by fear, others by shame. For decades, this massacre was buried. It wasn't taught in schools. It wasn't in the textbooks. Even descendants of survivors often didn't know the full story. Mass graves from the massacre are still being uncovered in Tulsa to this day. Greenwood wasn't just a community, it was a symbol. It showed what black Americans could build when given the chance. And that's exactly why it was destroyed. This isn't ancient history. Survivors of the massacre lived well into the 2000s, and their stories are a reminder of what happens when history is hidden, and why we must never forget. Vault of Stories uncovers the buried truths of America's past, because some wounds never healed and some stories were never meant to be forgotten.